are recovering from their injuries. The other injuries were relatively minor, but they were gunshots. None of that takes away the fact that a 30-year-old man, a resident of California who was here visiting for a joyous occasion, he did in fact lose his life. So we want to make sure that we, extend our sympathies and our deepest thoughts and condolences to the family members of that individual. Our detectives have been working tirelessly day and night to identify leads, scour the area for video, and obviously try to come up with who the violent individuals are that are responsible for this heinous act. We are confident that we're going to be able to bring this to a successful and expeditious conclusion, just like when I was here yesterday morning talking to all of you about the homeless family that was shot last week, that we were able to bring that to a successful conclusion about 72 hours after the crime. We hope to work with that sense of urgency and timeliness in this exact investigation as well. So with that being said, I just want to appeal to the public one more time. Anyone that may have been frequenting Franklin Street on Sunday morning, anyone that may have been at the LIT Cigar Martini Lounge, anyone that has any information, there are multiple ways for you to share that information with Tampa PD and our detectives. Obviously, our non-emergency line. You could submit a tip through tip 411, or if you choose to remain anonymous, you can call Crime Stoppers, and there could be a cash reward depending on the information and where we go with that information. A lot of people have been asking about the ownership and the management of the nightclub. They are absolutely cooperative in our investigation. They're helping us out. They're giving us access to their video and anything else that'll help us solve this case. This is a terrible example of where 3 o'clock in the morning, alcohol and tempers, are a terrible mix. Obviously, in this case, they ended up being fatal. But I do want to stress that the individuals that chose to pick up the firearm, the individuals that chose to use it, we don't want to bring firearms to what could have been resolved either by leaving, not being there to begin with, or just, a good old-fashioned argument. What we're seeing with our violent crime nationwide is that people are using guns and they're not afraid to fire them. And that's, again, a terrible mix at 3 o'clock in the morning. We are reviewing our best practices as far as our entertainment districts and our nightclubs are concerned. Every few months we are examining what we need to do better as far as communicating with our nightclubs, making sure that they are in compliance with rules that are on them, but most importantly, keeping patrons aware and knowing that bringing a gun to a nightclub is a very bad idea. So I just want you to know that we are proactively looking at our nightclubs and our best practices as far as keeping our Tampa residents safe when they attend our entertainment districts and our venues at night. I can take questions now if you want.
Is this more of a trend in this particular area? Because according to our records, there have been at least 4 shootings on Franklin Street with those 3 businesses within the past 10 months.
So the question is whether or not there's a trend on Franklin Street with shootings in the past 10 months. You said you got 4. We did have a homicide there a few months ago that if my recollection is correct, that was a self-defense situation. But again, we're bringing a firearm to a fight. This was I want to stress this is not random, this is not isolated, targeted violence. Like, this is an argument that could break out anywhere across the city, but the shooter chose to go to his car and brandish a firearm and chose to, fire it at the crowd. So I think we just have to, so to answer your question, no, it's not a trend. I mean, the violent crime increase is a trend nationwide, which we're trying to get a handle on. I think it could be really a combination of the fact that there are a lot of guns in the hands of the bad guys, but it's just the boldness of using the firearm that I want to stress. It's like these guys and gals out there that are pulling that trigger are making conscious decisions that they can't take back. The person that pulled that trigger and killed that 30-year-old gentleman that night, he's never going to be able to rebound from that decision that he made. So I think more importantly, we need to be proactive at this point instead of reactive and being scared to go to our entertainment venues, which we are very safe here in the city of Tampa. Our violent crime statistics year to date are down, unlike other nationwide cities. But we also have to put the onus on these young men and women that are making these terrible decisions to bring firearms to the nightclubs. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Being proactive, you mentioned that one business owner said they would support more police presence in this area. You mentioned being proactive. Is that one of those options?
It is. I mean, I think that really nobody could argue that with the added increased visibility of a marked patrol unit, that these types of incidents would be less apt to happen. So our annual deployment meetings are coming up. So what we do is we meet every October, November to plan for 2023 deployment. What does that look like? Where we would put officers, what times of day, what hot spots are out there. Obviously, our entertainment district, Ybor City, Franklin Street, Soho, they are high priority for us because we know that a lot of tourism and a lot of travelers come in and they want to feel safe in these high-profile entertainment districts. So we are going to make that a priority. Not only for next year, but obviously moving forward, starting today. We've done a really good job with a lot of our entertainment districts. I don't want to act like, this is commonplace around the city of Tampa because it's not. Obviously something of this magnitude makes us all want to second guess ourselves, but we are doing a good job in the city of Tampa. It is a very safe city, but we are also going to take that proactive step of saying, well, what could have we done better? Because I think there's really no arguing that we can always do better.
Do you guys know if the gunman was in a car or was he on foot? He on foot when this happened?
No, so as far as we know, based on the limited surveillance video we have, is that the gunman was in the street. Yes, on foot. Like the cars, for the bar, they're still parked. The bar isn't even closed yet. So the patrons, the victims, from what we assume the suspects are all, the fight is spilling from inside the club on foot to the outside of the club.
And do you know if the man killed was involved in the two groups that were fighting, or because I know he shot into the crowd, or was he just there?
Yeah, we're still working through those details. We don't know exactly which group they were in. Obviously, the bar was very crowded. It's a popular place. It's a Saturday night, Sunday morning at closing. We have a lot of details to sort through as far as who was with what. But we do know there was an argument between two groups of individuals.
Do you have a suspect or a person of interest in mind? Because it's alluded to, sounded like, hey, look, we're really close to nailing this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to overstep my boundary here, but we do have the finest detectives in the nation, in my opinion, as evidenced by the quick resolution of last week's case. So I do feel that we will come to a successful conclusion. Do I want to go out on a limb and say we have people in mind? I really don't have those exact details, but I guess it's maybe overconfidence that we are feverishly, tirelessly working and we're not leaving any stone unturned. And the increased cooperation we can get from the public would be just a win-win for us at this point. So I just really want to appeal to anyone that knows anything that we are wide open to taking in tips and help at this point.
Last question. Do you foresee one arrest or multiple arrests in this? Obviously, the shooter.
Don't have those details yet. Don't have those details. Obviously, who's responsible for pulling the trigger and anyone that may have been an accessory to that violent act. Okay? Thank you, guys.